It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom, Miss Rusty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, the public access podcast here on the QGBN, Quantum Global Broadcasting Network. I think I said I'm Rusty Diamond. And you can check out other great shows on the QGBN, such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is It with Lizzie and Saved by the Ben. This show is brought to you by Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Stoner Eats Productions, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and Sock'emUp.org. Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday. I have a few shows going today, so you can check those out. I have this one. I'm doing a When the Gloves Come Off this afternoon, and then doing another podcast episode tonight. So you guys are just going to be rolling in shit today. So hang out with me while I hang out in my podcast studio. So I'm going to bring on my guest because it's starting to get hot in her. It's only 65, but it's probably hotter in the house. Although I don't turn on the heat or the air conditioning, so I don't know. 65 in here, but there's some lights. These lights are hot studio lights. So I'm going to bring on my guest right here, right now. We have Brian Milligan. How you doing, bud?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I've been having some people suggest that in my intro. So my intro and outro music, it has some it says motherfucker sometimes in it, and that some people say I don't want that. And that's fine if you really don't want that. The show probably isn't for you anyway. But if you ask beforehand, I'll go and I'll stop it before it says motherfucker, and I'm okay with that. But I've also had people that ask me to change it in post.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna happen.
No.
This goes right up. Just I don't know. I don't want to, like we were talking about earlier, I don't want to spend extra time to do stuff, especially if it's something like that where it's, changing my own.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Okay, well, good. So motherfucker. So there's right, another one. Yeah. So it comes on, and so it's nice to be able to talk about whatever, whenever. And I mean, that's the whole point. There's on public access, you can do anything. Public access television, you can do whatever you want.
That's right.
Except for take a shit.
Yeah. My intro to public access is Wayne's World. You remember that?
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
That's right.
Woo, woo, woo. And yeah, man. So I mean, it's like that. I mean, like that one was that's like anyone can do it. And I thought that was cool. And there were some call-in shows that were except they don't really do that as much anymore. Now the call-in now is people messaging on things. It's not usually people calling in,
right.
Now it's
that's because people are crazy as hell, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no crazy filter anymore. Like you can just pop up and be like, oh hey, fucking say whatever you want.
That's right.
But like even with those other ones, it was, I mean, there's this one dude, you put his home phone number on there, people call up, which is crazy.
Yeah,
crazy in itself. But that guy was crazy. He's the guy that I found out the reason the only thing you can't do on TV is shit. That's what got him.
Tried it all.
Yeah, that's what got him shut down. He took a shit on public access, and that was what they had to draw the line on.
Well, I tell you what, I promise I will not take a shit on your podcast as long as you don't do it.
Yeah, well, it's cool. Well, maybe we might, because this is just the public access podcast, not on public access television. There's no FCC we have to deal with here, just
All right.
YouTube.
All right.
So
So
yeah.
we might end the podcast with group shitting.
Right, it might happen. I don't know. Yeah, it just might not be on YouTube. It might be one of those Rumble exclusive episodes
Oh, there you
that we
go.
do.
They like that
Yeah.
shit over on Rumble, you know.
I think so. They like pretty much anything. I haven't done anything that they haven't taken down yet. So, or that they have taken down yet. So, yeah, I mean, there's always a little bit of you gotta push the boundaries sometimes. It's not always for shock value, but you know, you got to be able to push some stuff back. And so, I mean, yeah, comedy.
Well, I'm open to wherever this goes, man. So
Oh,
I mean,
good.
if we start taking shits or stripping our clothes off, whatever, dude. I'm good. I'm good to
Cool.
go.
All right. Well, yeah. You never know when you gotta fucking strip or fucking shit.
That's right.
Hopefully, you take your pants off before you shit. So
That's crucial.
yeah, I think that's pretty crucial. And but I mean, I've been in some spaces, which I don't like calling them spaces because that's a whole different connotation of shit. So with comedy, do you have any are there any safe space comedy shows around where you are? Is that a thing down there
You
in
know,
Florida?
not really. Not. I
That's-
mean, I'm sure I'm not in the whole scene in every place in Florida, but mostly what we have is like dirty shows. You know what I mean? It's sort of the opposite of the safe space show.
That's good.
So yeah, I haven't really come across any. I know some of the guys that I know that do like private gigs, they have to be like clean and stuff like that. And I don't know. I stay away from that stuff. I just want to go out and say what I want to say, you know?
Yeah, I think that's important. And yeah, I so like in anywhere on the West Coast, like you're gonna have places where you gotta watch what you say,
That's right.
or else the comedy police are coming for you. And yeah, and same with in Minnesota, and like Minneapolis, I kind of got that as well. And Salt Lake City, if you can,
Nah, I've been in several shows where comics have been kicked out for like saying fucked up stuff to audience members and stuff like that. I mean, it's
yeah,
like we're in a professional business and somebody's talking about raping somebody or something crazy. You know what I mean? And you're just like, oh man.
yeah.
But no safe spaces, man. This is Florida, dude. You could shoot somebody in the audience and probably get away with it.
Yeah. And are you from Florida?
I'm originally from Florida, but I've moved around all over. So I've lived in like California and Washington State, New York, Georgia, South Carolina. I've lived all over, man.
What takes you to other places?
Stagnation, really. Like I just can't. I don't like sitting still for too long. My wife's the same way, man. We're vagabonds, I guess, at heart. We like to move around and my dad also moved around a lot when we were kids. So I've sort of been my whole life, man. We end up going places like 5 or 6 years and then moving away, and it's nice though. I kind of like it. Now I got friends all over,
Yeah, it's always a couch somewhere,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so, yeah. So then, I mean, so that's good that you got Florida. And so I mean, what was Florida like the last few years for you? Or like, you know what I mean? I don't want to say the words of that kind of stuff. What was Florida like? Was it kind of business as usual, or?
Yes. Yeah. So at first it was scary because you don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then once you kind of got a grasp on things, you're kind of like, it's kind of nice not having a lot of restrictions. You know what I mean? Like you can go do what you want to do. Uh, you can nothing was shut down. Like I mean, you kind of go do what you want. There was no like overarching state rules that were like, you can't go to the beach, you can't go to the parks, you can't do it. Was nothing like that. It was just like, hey, y'all just live your life, which I did. Eventually, I appreciated. At first, I was very nervous,
Yeah.
but
And so the comedy stick around then? Comedy
yeah.
was business usual?
So comedy was it was definitely around. It was at way less places around here. I actually was not doing stand up at all during that time.
Oh.
Not because I was scared, but just I had not started yet. So I've
Okay.
been wanting to do it for like 16 years, and then I started almost a year ago. We're talking probably about a year ago, and it's been really fun here, man. Like I kind of expected when I first started I was gonna hit open mics for a long time, and I got booked on things pretty quickly, and then it's snowballed, and now I did 6 shows this last week. You know what I mean? Like, so
Holy shit.
I hit the ground running really hard,
Yeah.
and it's been awesome, man. It's been one of my, outside of my kids and all that, it's been one of the better things I've done in my life. I've really enjoyed it.
So, I mean, what kind of places are you doing shows at?
Mostly bars,
Yeah.
but we have let's see, we have a couple of comedy clubs not far from me, within an hour and a half drive. I've done shows in those places. We have a couple of bar shows locally that are really good. So we have like one in our downtown area it's an open mic essentially, but it packs out every week. It's a small bar, so we get like maybe 30 to 40 people in there, max, but it's every single week. And then we have another showcase show on Tuesday nights that's every week also, and that is at this place that is, it's gorgeous, man. It's a 3-story bar right on the water, because I live close to the ocean. And the middle room is called the moon room, because I'm also where like rockets get launched and stuff like that. So everything out here, we're the space coast. It's like themed all space shit. And so the middle room in this place is called the moon room, and it's basically a big ass room with a stage and a bar. And that place, it packs out just about every week, around 60 to 80 people every single week, man. And it's such a fun place to do stand up,
Like during the week or on the weekend?
Yeah, on a Tuesday night, dude.
Fuck yeah.
It's weird, man. I live in I'm not in Orlando. I'm in a place called Melbourne, Florida, or Cocoa Beach. Like all that is like right here in my county.
Yeah.
And it's not like this huge area, but I feel like, I don't know, I guess in the last couple of years, people have been starved for any sort of live entertainment, because our shows get pretty busy, man. Like not every single week, but most weeks it's pretty packed. So
I mean, if you're doing more than just comics in the crowd, you're doing all right,
You're right, man. I mean, some of the Orlando mics you go to, and it's like, oh my God, there's nothing but comics or 6 audience members or something like that. Or you're going into a bar where they don't give a shit that you're doing stand-up comedy. They're just here to watch the Florida Seminoles game or something like that, and you're just a deterrence for them to watch football, So you'll be in the middle of your set and you just hear somebody yell, "Fuck you!"
And so, I mean, so they're not shutting off the TVs for you. What those kind of shows?
No,
Or
nothing like that.
yeah, the ones where people are still playing pool, or or playing video poker. Is it trying to fucking get the people who are playing video poker, but they're
right. We have a place where they play pool and video poker, all 20 feet from the stage. So yeah, it's a good time.
So what usually is your method to deal with that? To deal with the people who are playing pool or playing video poker? Are you?
So I was in a rowdy bar on Friday night. Okay. And it was a rough night. It was packed. There was probably, 30, 40 people in there, non-comic people. And so there was a lot of people, they just did not give a shit. Okay. They were just having conversations with themselves, not listening to the comics, and comics were just dying. You know what I mean? It was just one after another after another. And I had a guy go up, two people before me, and he's a veteran comic. You know what I mean? And towards the end of his set, they started getting really rowdy, and he just told them all, "Hey, shut the fuck up." You know what I mean? Like, just loud. You know what I mean? And then another comic went up in between him and I, and just, had a rough set. And then I went up and I was like, I'm just going to follow suit with what he did. I just started my set just going up there telling them all to shut the fuck up. And they did. They shut up and they listened. I had a great set. It was not too bad. So I guess that, man, I'm just going to keep doing that.
That's kind of what you have to do with those ones. I mean, otherwise, yeah, they're just going to fucking walk all over you. I mean, you have the microphone, or even if you don't have a microphone and you got to fucking yell, like you command the room right there. And that's what that's about. I mean, it's hard when you got people that come in and they have their very written out set and they just try to do it. And then you got people fucking talking over them, not giving a shit. And then you just watch their balloons slowly deflate. And
well, that's the thing. If it gets too much, I'll just like if I'm having a bad set and the crowd is being rowdy as hell, I'll just pivot and just start talking shit to people. You know what I mean? The set's dead anyway. I'm not gonna keep getting jokes out, so I'll spend the rest of my time just heckling them.
And yeah, with those kind of crowds, it's usually something that they enjoy.
The crowd work works well.
Yeah, they want to be part of the show. Or let them think they're part of the show. And
yeah. I try not to do it unless I'm towards the end though, because I don't want to invite them to start talking to the other comics too. Like some comics can't handle audience members talking to them, so I don't want to. I don't want to be the guy who's like, all right, I'm opening up the floor, But I don't know. Sometimes you need it. You need to just have something on deck to just keep them quiet. So
yeah. So when were you doing other kind of public speaking or anything kind of beforehand to kind of?
No, I was in bands for years. Like we not for a while, but through my teenage years and into my early 20s, I was in rock bands. And so in one of the bands, I was literally the guy who spoke. I wasn't the lead singer, but he just wasn't good at talking to the audience. He was a great singer, but it wasn't really his thing to like kind of, hey, how y'all doing? Or any of that kind of stuff. Like he just was like a shy guy. So I would do a lot of that. And then like 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I did the best man speech at my brother's wedding and I murdered. And I kind of was like, I need to do that. I told my wife when we were 19, I really want to do stand up, and she was super supportive. You should try it. You should go do it. And then we had kids like soon after that, and so I just kind of put everything on the back burner. And now, I mean, my kids are teenagers, so they're off doing their own fucking thing, and I'm I got time, so I just started doing it, man.
Yeah. Now it's time. And so I mean, what'd you play? What instrument were you playing?
I was a bass player in bands.
Okay, that was my guess.
Yeah. But I mean, I play guitar and stuff too, but not that well, Yeah. I was in good bands, but I was the worst player. Like I was.
But that's where you kind of want to be. You don't want to be once you're the best in the room, it's time to leave.
Yeah. I feel like the same can go for stand up,
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you're like, oh man, I'm I mean, kind of for anything in life, if you find out you're the best, like if you're hanging around, you're just doing it to fucking stroke your ego, but you're not growing at all.
Exactly. And I tell some comics, because like you go into certain comedy scenes and there's like gatekeepers at the top.
Absolutely.
And they they've been doing it for a really long time, and they book all the big rooms and stuff like that. And like, man, in my opinion, I'm just like, some of these guys, not all of them, because some of them they don't need to leave. You know what I mean? But some of them do. Some of them need to be going into other markets. You know, like when if I eventually become the top of our comedy scene,
Yeah.
I will absolutely leave. I'll go somewhere, like once I'm super good, I'm gonna go to Austin or New York or LA. Probably New York or Austin, to be honest with you, but somewhere that's not here.
Yeah.
So
So
although with social media now, I feel like you can live in one area and sort of be seen nationally and just go out and tour from one area. I just don't think Florida is the right place to do that, you know. So
yeah, I mean, maybe one of those. I mean, like Austin, like you're saying, nothing's too far away from Austin as
yes,
far as a flight or
yeah, it's pretty
anything.
centrally located.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it seems like their scene's kind of picking up there quite a bit now, and especially in the last few years with what's happened and
Yeah, all the
that being
clubs opening up and famous comics moving there, and famous shows being filmed there and all that stuff. Yeah, man, it's popping. I have a
yeah.
couple of friends that have moved out there in the last year, and one of them is having incredible success out there. So yeah, so there's a roadmap for me, like I have friends that are doing it. So eventually I'll head probably there. It really depends. I really like the New York scene.
Yeah,
But I know guys that have been there too, and they're like, nah, you shouldn't go there. You should go to Austin. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah, it's more like you can do whatever you want, and you're also able to. I mean, the cool thing about New York is it's close to a lot of other things, but every time you have to go in there, like unless you're living in the town, I mean, it's kind of a bitch to get over into there, and you have to pay money just to get into fucking town and
Yeah,
to get out of town.
yeah. Well,
Um,
you're in what, Connecticut?
yeah, so I'm like, it's like 80-minute drive to New York and then
Okay,
like 100 to Boston. But
okay.
both of those, I mean, you got to pay fucking tolls to go into town, or else you got to
Yeah,
take some sort of bus or train in, and by the time it costs some money. But yeah, if you're living in town, it's all right.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like it's interesting, like having to pay tolls to get into town. Like nowhere I've really have
Yeah.
lived has had that,
I mean,
except
I
for
I have to do it for Orlando. Like when I drive to Orlando, I mean, I could take the freeway, but it adds like, I don't know, 30 minutes onto the drive. So I'm like, I'll just pay the $4 in tolls to get to, but I'm
yeah,
going to a free show where I'm not being paid, I'm literally paying gas money and toll money to go perform. So I don't know. You just gotta keep grinding, in this. Like you don't make money as a stand-up for so long, and I mean, even when I do make money, it doesn't balance out the gas that I pay to get there and
right.
things like that. So I'm doing my first paid I'm a paid regular at a club up in Daytona, a comedy club, and
Shit, nice.
yeah, I just got it, you know what I mean, and so I'm doing my first weekend there at the end of the month, so I'm interested to see how much money I'll make from that.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any gimmicks or anything? You have a merch table or anything that you're gonna be?
nah, not yet. I'm not far enough along for all that, like I'm still building material. That's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I feel like as a comic you never stop building material, but I'm just trying to get up to like a feature length set. So
Like how long are you thinking? Or like what do you have now?
like right now I could comfortably do like a 15-minute set,
Hell yeah.
but I want to get it up to about 30 minutes. I want to, because I have a couple of buddies of mine that are headliners that take me out, and they would let me do 30 minutes if I had it, and so I want to get to that point, and then yeah, and just try to make that the best 30 minutes I possibly can. So it takes time, man. You know, it's trial and error with comedy. So you just throw in shit at the wall to see what sticks, and then whatever sticks, you just try to make it better and better and better. So.
And they're taking you out on the road at all?
Sometimes, nothing out of Florida, but
Yeah.
definitely like local shows. I went down to Fort Lauderdale last week or 2 weeks ago, and then with one of the guys, and then the reason I got to be a paid regular at the comedy the comedy club up in New Smyrna Beach is because I went there with a guy who was headlining. And I had really good sets, and the owner was like, "You're coming back here," you know. So,
fuck yeah.
So I got lucky, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, you can learn a lot from the traveling with the older comics, and picking their brain, seeing what's working for them, and seeing what can get good feedback. Craft some new punchlines, new whatever.
Well, we had a local, we still have it. I'm not much of a part of it anymore, but we had a local podcast from one of our local headliners, and I was a regular on there for quite a while, and he would bring in these like nationally touring headliners that he knew. And so I would get these opportunities to sit down and get advice from guys that I had no business talking to and all that stuff, like when I started doing the podcast, I was like 3 months into stand up, you know what I mean?
Shit.
So I'm meeting guys that are like touring headliners, and like they're, but it was nice for me because I got a perspective on stand up that I don't think most people got right, like early on, And so I was just actively trying to take as much advice from these people as I can, make connections, like that kind of stuff. But I've never reached out to any of them, even though they all said, "Hey, if you ever need anything, reach out," or whatever. I never,
right.
Who the fuck am I? So I never reached out to any of them, but anything that they told me in that room, I tried to take and use as much as I possibly could at my level. So.
And how's that been working?
It's been good, man. Like the writing advice that I've gotten, or like clean versus being dirty, like that kind of stuff. Because like when you first start doing stand up, and you see a lot with people that start, is like they almost like try to go for the laughs by being shocking instead of just being funny, And I'm no stranger to it. My first couple of months, I was doing exactly that, and then I kind of realized, like, all right, I found the error of my ways early on. And I was like, I need to just be writing better, and it doesn't necessarily have to be clean or dirty or any of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have to shock the shit out of people, like, right. So then I just started, I got with one of our local guys here who's a fantastic writer. And I did some writing sessions with him, and he kind of showed me what he was doing and how he's structuring jokes and things like that. And that really helped me, man. Like, I mean, for real. And so then I started writing just better jokes, like just all around. And for the last, like, I don't know, 6 months, I've just been trying to build like a solid set that I could do at comedy clubs or bars, or it doesn't really matter where I'm at. It's not super dirty, but it's not super clean either, like just trying to be more universally funny. Because I had some shows, like I said, I'm on the beach, man, and we're in a seasonal area, in that like the people from up where you're at come down here during the wintertime, what I mean?
Yep.
And so and I started like in September. And so by the time I was in, October rolled around, we started having a bunch of older folks that would come here. And so I remember like, I don't know, this 5th or 6th show I ever did, I was in a club, and a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, come watch this show tonight, because there's some good comics on it." And then I show up, and 2 of the comics canceled. And so he looks at me, even though I'd only done a couple shows. He's like, "Hey, buddy, I need you to do some time for me." I'm like, "Okay," and I get up there, and there's like 7 or 8 people in the audience, and they're all like over 60. You know what I mean? and they didn't get any of my shocking references or any of that kind of stuff. So I just went up there and just bombed to silence for 5 minutes, you know. And I realized that night, I was like, I need to find material that I can do to people in their 20s, people in their 60s, like doesn't matter. You know, I might, you know, they might gross them out a little bit if they're like in their 60s or whatever, or confuse them because they don't know what OnlyFans is or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, for the most part, my material now, it works, you know, it works in all audiences. So,
Yeah.
I did not want to repeat the 5 minutes of silence that I got from that room. So I don't know.
So were you doing five? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Were you doing 5 minutes on that show, or was it just okay?
No, it was horrible. That was my whole set. It was just, it like didn't get one laugh the whole night. I was like, oh no.
So did you kept with it? You kept with what your set was written out, and just even when it was every one of them wasn't hitting, you thought maybe the next one's gonna hit, the next one's gonna hit.
No, you know what it is? I just didn't have, I was too inexperienced. I didn't have anything to pivot to, you know, so I hadn't done crowd work. I hadn't done anything except just like dirty jokes, you know, and so that were not very well written, you know, either. So I don't blame them for not laughing at me. You know, it was my fault. So I just had to, you know, you have to go through things like that as a comic. You have to, because that's how you learn and grow. So you got to have, I mean, you got to have a lot of shitty shows, man. You know, like, I mean, I went months of bombing before I started having good sets, you know, and I'm grateful for it, because it kind of, you know, like I said, you're throwing shit at the wall. So you never really know what's going to work and what doesn't. Sometimes the thing that works is like if I go tell a joke, sometimes half the joke will work and half won't, but it's not always the half that you think is going to work. Sometimes the setup is like there and the punchline's not, you know what I mean? And so then you're trying to develop off of like the setup, you know, and I don't know, I like the writing process and, you know, discovering what is funny and what's not on a stage. I also heard it's regional, so maybe my material won't work up in Connecticut, but it works down here. So I don't know.
So speaking of comedy writing, so here's something I did just out of fucking, I don't know, out of curiosity. I took my setups for shit that I did in my first year.
Yeah.
And put it through ChatGPT and say, write me 10 new punchlines, and then sort of give it like a bit of my feel, like, you know, put it in my voice. And 3 of them were better. 3 of them were for sure better. One of them was way better. And it's kind of, and then same with music though too. Like, so much shit I fucking written that I've took me fucking so long to write, and now it's just I can throw it in, punch it in, boom, 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 it's done in a minute and a half, and it's better than what I could do. And
man,
do you
I don't know
think
how
that
I feel
people
about
are
all that chat GPT stuff, man. I don't know.
mean, do you think people are doing it?
For sure. Yeah. I know. Well, a friend of a friend really was saying that what he'll do is he'll put his jokes into chat GPT and then try to get new angles on the joke. You know what I mean? So less punchlines, but more like, you know, he'll go, give me a new angle on it. And I'm trying to think, he was talking about like a joke about bad drivers. This was like the example, you know what I mean? And so then he said, okay, like he put in his joke, which I don't remember what it was. And then he goes, okay, give me a new angle. And it was like Asian drivers, you know, like it's shit like that. You know, it was just like, it just gave him different perspectives on the same joke. And I don't know, man. I'm whatever makes people better at comedy, I'm fine with, you know, like I just like, I want to be the sole person responsible for what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like like it's selfish. You know, I don't want to, if I put out a comedy special in 10 years, I don't want to have to credit Chat GPT for it. You know?
Right. Yeah, I think probably a fair amount of them will have to.
Yeah. I know a couple guys
But-
that are definitely doing it though.
Yeah, and it's hard, and I'm just like, well, shit, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm so back and forth between it,
Yeah.
just I don't know, like, because
Well,
it is like, yeah,
it's almost like if you're not doing it, you might be behind the times. You know what I mean?
yep, that's kind of what
But in that case, I'm a little bit okay with being old school. You know,
Yeah.
like I there's no right and wrong to this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't shame people. Like I said, more power to anybody who wants to do whatever. I don't know, man. Like inside, I'd feel like somebody else wrote my jokes, you know? And I feel like I gotta be the guy saying stuff, you know? I gotta
Yeah.
be the one who I want it to come all out of my head, because like then you get the personal level of it. You know what I mean? You're getting me through my jokes. And so and that's where I'm trying to transition to, like, as a stand-up, is just like getting more personal with material and things like that, and make it to where like my jokes they're exclusively me, you know, and
know
so
your voice.
yeah, they're my voice, but they're also stories about my family and my wife and I, and like all that kind of stuff. Not stories. I'm more of like a setup punchline guy. I'm not
Sure.
I'm not really much of a story guy. But my jokes are about my wife. They're true things about her and I, or me in general. I do, 6 minutes of self-deprecation, in my set. And so some of those jokes are more like they could be any long-haired guy with a beard, but but I feel like some of them are more specific to me. So I don't know.
And so I was going to go back to this. So dude, you're never too early in the game to set up a fucking gimmick table and have merch, man. Like especially if you're traveling along, even if it's just some stickers or maybe 2-3 shirts in each size, just carry them around. It's not a bad way to.
We're talking about this yesterday or day before yesterday, and I have like 2 jokes that she was like, you should just put that on a shirt and see what happens,
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually reached out to a couple of friends. I got a buddy who owns a t-shirt company, and he was like, yeah, if you want to order some shirts on my account, because the shirts are cheaper if you order them in bulk. So he's like, I'll help you out. So I don't know, we'll see. It's coming. I'll put it to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's there, and it doesn't take up a lot of. I mean, between carrying a bass guitar everywhere and maybe an amp or something, or some chords or some pedals.
Yeah.
That's the awesome thing about fucking comedy. You don't have to bring a fucking thing with you, and if it is, it's just usually a bag or suitcase of merch.
Yeah.
And that's all you really need to bring.
Honestly, the transition from music, which was years ago, I should also say, I'm 37, and my last band I played in, I was like maybe 20, you know. So but I started playing I started playing in bands when I was 12.
Oh shit.
Maybe 13. So I had a good 7 or 8 year run of playing. The last couple of years we were sort of touring around regionally, like not nationally, but just regionally where we were at, getting on bigger and better shows, making money and stuff like that. So I think if I would have continued on with it, we could have, been in we probably could have got bigger and better. I don't know how big and better I would say, but we had a really, really good band. And so the thing I like about comedy though is that it's just me. I don't have to rely on 3 other guys. If somebody's fucked up, I don't have to pick up the slack for them. Like it's just me, and I'm not going to be the guy who's fucked up going up and doing stand up. So I like being clear headed. I'll have a drink or 2 after, and smoke a little bit or something like that. But I try to be as clear headed and professional as possible beforehand. So, which is how I like to perform, man. I like, even when I was playing music, because I want to give the audience the best show possible. you know.
Right.
And if I'm fucking drunk or something like that, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not, if I'm there to get paid, I'm not being a responsible employee. You know, like
Yeah.
I got that shit ingrained in my brain from school, I guess. I'm not sure, but
And I mean, it's a hard thing if you're booking shows too,
Yeah.
to not know who's going to show, like booking shows. It's like, I don't know, there's a line with, and I'm trying to figure out which one are like the hardest to wrangle,
Yeah.
between like, and they're all kind of in the same category. Pro wrestlers, musicians, comedians, and strippers. And like they're all kind of about the same. Like you never really know what you're gonna get. And you hope that everyone's gonna show up, but you have to be ready to assume that not everyone's gonna show up. And I got okay with it, because like some people, like if they're just, especially with comedy, like you're having a really fucking shitty day, and
Mhm.
it's just like they let me know that morning or even early afternoon and be like, look, I'm having a shitty day. This is gonna suck if I fucking come out.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with going and getting someone I have ready to go, to replace them. But just some people come in just completely fucked up, and like, okay, well, this is gonna be interesting. So
Almost at that point was just send their ass home, you know. Like I've done shows with
Yep.
guys that are hammered and it never goes good. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I've never seen somebody just drunk as fuck just go up and kill it. You know what I mean? Like they're always slurring, and the audience knows they're drunk. You know, it's, I don't know. You know what though? Like I've had days where I've had like really bad days. Maybe I was like fighting with my wife or something like that, and then I go out that night and have killer shows. You know, so I honestly I don't try to have bad days, but I'll still do a stand up show on a bad day. I just want to. I don't know, because sometimes it ends up going great. You know, it's weird. I mean, sometimes your like mood carries into the set, and it gets, people aren't really laughing because they can tell you're not really in a funny mood, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just go up, I have wonderful sets, like just being mad as hell. And I'm not even like a ranter or anything, I just go up and I don't know. Maybe it comes through in the performance. I'm not sure,
Your
So,
energy for the night,
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but also sometimes I bomb my ass off. I mean, it's you get both. That's the thing I love about stand up is you can go out on a Saturday and have a killer set, like one of the best you ever have, and then go out Sunday and do the same exact material in a different spot and bomb with it. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird.
I fucking love bombing.
Yeah.
There's some people can't do it. Some people, it like deters them. But like you were saying earlier, I mean, you bombing, like, and I have this saying I say a lot, once you shit your pants, you can't shit your pants anymore. Like,
That's right.
Like you're gonna learn from fucking silence.
Yeah. I've seen some really great comics bomb too. Like, I mean,
too.
great in our area. We had this one kid. He's the guy I was talking about. He's blowing up in Austin. He's getting on all the big shows. He's getting on with all the big comics, like everything. He's a phenomenal comic. But literally the month before he left to go to Austin, I helped get him booked on this show because I thought it was going to be great for him. And he bombed harder than anybody. You know what I mean? It was rough. It was so rough. I mean, I could tell after the show was in his head. I felt horrible for the kid.
Yeah.
I really did, because he is a phenomenal comic. There's no reason he should have bombed. He just did. And he actually, like I said, it was about a month before he moved, and then he moved away, and he wrote a joke about bombing at that show, and it kills, man. I mean, that joke is a monster joke. And so I'm like, man, this guy literally took a moment where I could tell he was wrecked from that, you know what I mean? And just turned it into fucking gold, You know, like that inspired me more than anything. I was like, oh man, like I need to take some tragedy and turn it into comedy. You know?
I mean, they're one and the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, tragedy. Comedy is just tragedy with the punchline.
that's right. That's right. How long have you been doing stand up? You've been going for a while?
Yeah, but I don't know. I've been kind of off and on since I started moving around.
Well, I know you got a lot of titles before your name. I know you're a wrestler, a comic, hypnotist. Like you keep stacking on jobs, you know?
Yeah, well, something happens in transition. So I started comedy in 2012,
Okay.
I think. And so I was doing pro wrestling before that.
Mhm.
And I had a couple of really good buddies, both who were relatively close to years of my age, and both
How old are
had.
you?
I'm 40.
40.
And so
Okay.
I think one is a couple of years older than me, and then one is, I think, maybe like probably 37 now, 36, 37, and they both, doing great, kind of getting their name out there, and both ended up having career-ending head injuries, and then
No.
yeah, I had some head injuries before I got into wrestling, and so I was like, I want to stay in wrestling, but I shouldn't be doing as much physical shit. So I'm going to go do comedy to work my chops and get myself better at, being on the mic and whatever for wrestling.
I was gonna say it probably helps in the ring, right? Like you start, you have timing at least then, you know what I mean? So do you think that head injuries are responsible for you getting into doing wrestling? You know,
Probably. And I mean, I had a good amount of them before, and I didn't get into wrestling until I was 26, I think.
Okay.
I was and then that was what, 19, not 19. I started in 2010. I started wrestling in 2010. So I was I was 27.
Okay.
Must have been 27. And then and then I just wasn't good.
Were you doing like backyard wrestling with your buddies in high school and stuff like that too, or
not really?
Were you into it in high school though? Like, were you in the big? I don't want to say their names, like the big wrestling organizations and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a fan since I was a little kid, and and I mean, I wrestled in school wrestling. I did that. I don't know. And then, then I don't know. I got my ass kicked a lot, growing up and stuff. So I was resilient, and so, and that was kind of what got me in. But I mean, when I was 18, before I graduated, like the first thing, I could kind of go anywhere before I graduated high school, and I decided to go to a big wrestling show to watch that, and I was like, went to Houston for it, and I was like, all right. But then but I always had fucking people telling me I'm too small, because I'm I since I was 16 I've been like 6'1", 6'2", like 160, 170 pounds, like.
Okay.
So I always been smaller, but then eventually,
I was gonna say, I mean, when I was a kid, the wrestlers were all, I mean, literally one of them was a giant. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so like they were all big guys, but like by the time I was in high school, they had some little flyers, guys that were jumping around, being crazy, that were probably about the same size as you, maybe even smaller, so I see the market did change eventually, and it was way more inclusive with size, because it didn't really matter if you were, you know, the biggest guy in the ring. If you could do crazy acrobatics and stuff like that, you know, you're willing to put your body to the test on how far you can, you know, how many times you can fling your body into somebody or whatever, you know, like, so I respect a smaller guy, you know, going, hey man, fuck this, I'm gonna go against these big ass dudes, you know.
Yeah.
David versus Goliath, you know.
Yeah, and that's what it would be. Usually it'd be me against some big dude fucking throwing my ass around, whether I'm the, you know, the good guy and, you know, got the crowd cheering me, or else I'm fucking on the mic and fucking pissing everybody off. And then
oh, that's a good question. Do you prefer to be the hero or the heel?
The heel, absolutely, 100%, 100%. There's been a few times. I mean, dude, the first time, I don't know. There's been a couple times, yeah, where I've had some fans that became quite upset with me and tried to do some stuff to me.
I feel like that'd be the funnest part of it, just talking mad shit to a guy who's like double your size.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I don't know. Yeah, so I mean, like, doing comedy really was a nice compliment to that, because, and then doing comedy coming from wrestling was nice too, because, you know, they kind of help each other out.
Yeah.
And then I blew out my knee, and that's how I got into hypnosis.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, do you cross over the comedy and the hypnosis, or you just do that on your own? No,
not at all. I've thought about it many times, because it's no reason not to. I've done so. I did it at one show, but I'm a clinical hypnotist. I'm not a fucking stage hypnotist. I don't do all the stuff like that. But I was doing a set one time, and I was the second to last person up, and the last people up was a group of 2 people that did comedy together. And so before I go up, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Sometimes I'll figure it out a little bit before, but like before any show, whatever, I'm always looking through the curtain, watching every audience member, what they're doing, what they're reacting to. And so then I get up on stage and I say, do you guys want me to tell you a story, or do you want me to hypnotize you? And so I hypnotize them for relaxation. Which would be great if I was on last, but I was on second to last. So the people were fucking really hot at me that were up after me, because the crowd's just sitting there fucking
lulled to sleep.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucking sorry, man. I didn't think that went through at all, man. Like, and so I stopped doing that one. But yeah, I mean, I very much am a proponent of watching the other comics. Like, it's great hanging out in the green room, backstage and everything, but that's why I also like going up on early, because then I'll go and do that afterwards. But I want to know if someone's doing the same jokes I'm doing, or, you know, similar jokes, because I've watched that one hosting, like seeing people do the same set, not the same set, but a lot of the same setups and shit as someone else. And it's just like, oh shit, they weren't paying attention. And wrestling someone that's, you know, doing the same finish, or, you know, having the same, the ref gets, you know, the ref bump, like the ref gets knocked down in a match, and, you know, all, you know, the cheating happens. And it's like, dude, you got to make sure that you don't do that twice. You can do it once. And with comedy, like, I'm always watching to see who is saying what, because you don't want to be up there doing the same thing. And so
that's sort of why I told you initially, like, I started trying to write more personal material, you know what I mean? So that I'm not really doing the same type of shit, you know what I mean? Like, Because how many comics do you know that do Tinder jokes or OnlyFans jokes or whatever? You know what I mean? And
Or
like
Trump.
you can, yeah, or Trump or Biden or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I mean, I see it. You know, especially if you go to open mic. You know, good God, like there's a mic I go to sometimes in Orlando where 30 something comics will show up there. You know what I mean? And good
Holy
God,
shit.
like there'll be 5 people that do the same topic. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, guys. You know, like this is when that Jeffrey Dahmer movie came out, every comic in our area had a Jeffrey Dahmer joke, you know?
I fucking
And
bet. Yeah.
so it's like I try to stay away from like hot topics, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, they're fucking topical. They're good. And they're only, I mean, you can't really invest in a hot topic either. You can't invest the writing into the joke. You're going to get, you better hope you get it fast because you fucking tell a Dahmer joke now, like it's not going to have the same hit with the audience as it did.
I literally saw a guy do a Dahmer joke like a week ago. You know, it did not
how'd
hit.
it go over? Yeah, right.
Didn't hit at all.
Yeah. I mean, and you got to be fucking able to like really get that part, like like to really know what yours is, and to get to know your voice and like what I know, like I don't know, I had this guy in wrestling, and like the way to know your voice is when you know your voice and you can write for anything like that, or to do whatever, is if you let you fucking Brian Milligan, the comedian, you are in a fast food place, you order your food up at the counter, and they go and they give it to you, and the order's fucked up.
Yeah.
And what you do when you find out your order's fucked up, that's when you know your voice. So once you can answer that question.
In your weaker moments. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And I
was gonna say, shit, I forgot. Fuck. I forgot what I'm sorry, go ahead. I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's all right. But yeah, I think that's important to get to. Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of time to get it, but I mean, just being able to, like you're saying, like write jokes that are specific to you, that you're not gonna have to worry about other people, you know, doing your shit unless you're.
Good luck. If you think you can do my material, you know, go for it.
Yeah.
Because good God, like you have to have lived through some of the things I've lived through to talk about them, man. So like I'm trying to do all facets of comedy. So I do mostly set up punchline jokes with tags and all that kind of stuff. And crowd work is something that I excelled at sort of quickly on. You know, like I grew up in a house with 2 dudes that like my dad and my brother, we just talk mad shit to each other nonstop.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what crowd work turned into for me. It's like, oh, like I'll just pick on the audience a little bit, you know. I told you I always do self-deprecation up front, like so that way I'm shitting all over myself first, and then I shit on them.
Yeah, because then you have the crowd fucking like it's a fucking tried and true fucking method to start out with.
It works well because it eases their tension. They're like, oh, this guy's funny, you know, and then they're like, well, he was talking about himself a lot beforehand, you know, so all right, we'll accept him, you know, talking to us like that. So
it's not just like, hey, this guy in the audience is a fucking dick. Look at this guy with the stupid fucking hat. This guy over here, you know, like you gotta fucking, you know, if you say it all like sort of like the 8 Mile thing or whatever, you got, if you say it all before, like then they don't have any fucking ammo to get you, and then like I already said it all about me, and then now I can fucking shit on you, and you're in on the joke too. And
exactly, I know I look like Chris Stapleton, all right, I get it. You know, like,
right.
So I liked all that shit though, man. But I'm also trying to do, and I haven't really broken into this too much, but I want to get into telling stories and things like that. I'm very like if I was telling you a story right now, I wouldn't forget a word of it. I'd tell it exactly as is. But it's something about going on stage and I'm telling a story, I will leave out important details, and then I'll get to the end of the story and be like, "Fuck," like I fucked it up. God dang it. So
forgot that setup
yeah.
somewhere in there, and
So
oh, shit.
I typically I'll stick to like shorter stories, like
Yep.
1 or minute and a half, something like that, and just try to get as much of the details as possible into that. And so that's where like I dip my toes, in a little bit with the stories. But I have so many things that I've written down that I'm like, oh, I want to use this somehow, but I just haven't had the opportunity to really work it out, because like we that's what open mics are good for, like you show up, it doesn't really matter if you bomb, you're not getting paid to be there, you're just showing up and just kind of doing whatever you want, and you see that with some comics that don't have any punchlines or anything. They just get, we got a guy in our scene who dresses up in these elaborate costumes, and he's horrible. He's so bad, but he's still wearing these crazy ass costumes. But
the joke is
we also have a show on Monday nights, and there's another show that's like really popular on YouTube that's exactly like our show. But essentially it's like you do stand up for like we do it for 2 minutes. The more successful version of it is just 1 minute.
Kill Tony.
Yeah, Kill Tony. Yeah, I like I said, man.
You don't want to say all the.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'll also say my friend that is blowing up in Austin just became the new regular on Kill Tony. So
who?
His name's Cam Patterson.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, yeah.
They just had their 10-year anniversary, and David Lucas retired from being a regular on the show, and my friend Cam is taking his place, man.
Cool.
And so I'm super excited for that kid. But so we do Florida Kill Tony essentially where I'm at on Monday nights, and we film it for YouTube, put it up as a podcast. I am not responsible for the show. I'm just like I'm just the regular, like I do every week. I'm also the door guy for the venue, so I pull double duty there, but it's essentially that. We do it every Monday night. It's the same exact format. We call it the Kill Tony format. We're not shying away from like saying this is that,
Yeah.
But that guy, the guy I'm talking about that's dressing up, it was the first night he was there last night. I saw him walk up and I was like, motherfucker, like not this fucking guy. Because it's still an open mic, so.
So, I mean, I was also going to say this. I was going to say this at some point. I was going to say it off air, but I respect your not name dropping and your way of going around it. I was going to tell you that, but I'll just say that that way. It's very easy to go on and do that. And so, I'm just going to let you know that. And
well, I don't know what, like some shows because I don't do a lot of like Zoom podcasts. Occasionally, we have a couple of local that I'll like. I do like the Kill Tony style one. That's a podcast also. So, but I don't know, man. Like you never know what the host wants or doesn't want. So I just I try to skirt around like a politician. You know what I mean? Just like skirt around the heavy topics and not say names of things that are gonna potentially make them angry. Like you don't want to give a bunch of free publicity for other things. So they have their own publicity train. They can figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
I like that, man. And so then so where are people gonna find you? On the internet or in real life, in an alley possibly?
Yeah, probably. The best place is I'm Brian at Brian Milligan Comedy on Instagram. We also have that Kill Tony style podcast that releases on Sundays, like new episodes. That one's just called Unapologetic or Unapology. No, it's Unapology. Sorry. Yeah, Unapology. And you can find that on YouTube and and Spotify and all that stuff. Other than that, I mean, I post all my, my dates for shows and things like that. I'm doing a comedy competition tonight in about an hour south from here. And then, everything else you can just go on my Instagram. I'm there. If you want to see any of my stand up, it's not all of it, but it's on there, so, but yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for being on. I enjoyed getting to talk to you and figure out some stuffs and see how comedy is in other parts of the world.
Yeah, if you ever make it down this way, you ever come to Disney on vacation or whatever, hit me up, man. I got. I don't run shows, but I know a lot of guys who do. And so if you're wanting to get on some shows down here, I can definitely facilitate that.
All right. I need to figure out where that is. I believe I might be going to Florida and sometime in the near future. So I'm not sure where. It's a big fucking state. It's like, I'm going to California, man.
If you're in Miami or Jacksonville, I can't help you. I know a couple guys in each place, but not really. Central Florida, you come to Central Florida, I got you, dude. Cool. Orlando, Tampa, my area, Cocoa Beach area, stuff like that. I can definitely get you on some good shows that you'd be like, man, this is a good scene down here. This place is awesome. So I'm really happy I started doing stand up here. Because when I've thought about it for years, so I could have started anywhere along the way, and even though I'm 37 years old, I waited a very long time to start. I'm very happy that it ended up being in this area. So
think about, okay, what would you have talked about if you were 21 years old and you started comedy, or you had just gotten out of playing in a band, dude? If I would have started when I was 21, I was a fucking dipshit.
Me too. Me too. I had kids. I was still a dipshit.
You started at a good time, man. There's, like a lot of people. I don't know. I wish I would have started later than I did. I started it. I was almost 30, and I still think that was even too young to.
I feel like it was the perfect time because I got life experience.
Yep.
And I've been through some shit, and now I'm responsible enough as a person to not get, like we were talking earlier, get hammered before shows and all that kind of stuff. Man, if I was 22 years old, I would have been drunk as fuck just going up on stage or whatever, high on mushrooms or whatever,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have taken it as seriously. And now it's, outside of being a husband and a father, man, it's the thing I take the most serious. I really hit the ground running, man. Like I said that when we first started. As soon as I started doing stand up, I was doing 5-6 shows a week every week for basically the last year. There's some weeks where I take off or do a little less or whatever, but for the most part, I'm hitting shows, bro.
Yeah.
So
that's what's gonna get you better.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, if you're up here this way, in the somewhere up here, if you're not in New York, I don't know enough in New York. I'm still new to the scene, but if you're over here in this area, if you don't want to be in New York or Boston, somewhere in between, we can work something out.
I'll take you up on that, maybe.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, have a good rest of your afternoon here, or morning. I get morning still, yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
All
right.
Bye.
All right, that's Brian. Check him out. Check out Brian. Check him out. Don't be a dummy. And I like it. I like that he's fucking going. And I like I said, I really respected him not doing the name dropping. It's real easy to do name dropping, and I've done it a few times, and it's not necessary. And it's free publicity for someone doesn't really need it. And I was like, yeah, man, I respect it. That's cool. I like this guy. So yeah, check him out wherever you can. Follow him and like, share, subscribe this podcast. Ding the fucking shit. Anywhere you listen to a podcast, you can listen. Check it out on YouTube or Rumble. And yeah, you guys check out other shows on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN, such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is It with Lizzie and Saved by the Ben. And the show is brought to you by Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Stoner Eats Productions, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and suckemup.org. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest! Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?